So you mentioned Karen Carpenter there, Tim, and that made me think about your next choice, which we're going to talk about, because when I put this album on, I was very much reminded of Karen Carpenter. This is an album where it's one of those examples where there's an artist that, of course, is almost ubiquitous, and you think you know everything about them, and then you discover that there's this little kind of hidden corner of their discography that you knew nothing about. And then that's certainly the case with this artist for me, in you bringing this album to my attention. And we're talking about Diana Ross, who made this album called Touch Me in the Morning in 1973, which I knew nothing about. And my honest opinion is that this, to me, sounded like the record company had said to Diana Ross, you know what, Diana, this girl Karen Carpenter's having a lot of success. We'd like you to make a record just like that. And I didn't really feel like her voice was that suited to that kind of style of almost saccharine orchestrated ballads. To me, it did, dare I say, come across as a little bit like a poor man or a poor woman's Karen Carpenter. But convince me otherwise. Make a case.
Well, it's one of the first albums I ever really came across because it was something that my dad would play on repeat as we go on tortuous 7-hour journeys to Devon from the northwest of England. So every single note on this album I know very well. I think it's a very strong album. It started off as a concept album called To the Baby, which was in honour of the fact that Diana Ross had had a child, and it was a more politically motivated work. But I think Motown at the time felt that it was lacking in tunes, so they brought in a couple of songwriters, and the title track, Touch Me in the Morning, emerged, and they rejigged the album. So what you have is a more commercial vision than was originally intended, but the 8-minute medley that ends the album, Brown Baby, has the kind of sonic soundscape of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, and it also has the political undertones as well.
Okay, I have to confess I didn't get to the end of the record, so maybe I missed the crowning achievement on it. Diana Ross, political? I mean,
Diana Ross was political.
If you say so.
Yeah.
If you say so.
So for me, I don't really see it in terms of Karen Carpenter. I'm very familiar with the Carpenters' work, and although I think there's an understated sensuality that is similar to Karen Carpenter, I see it as being closer to Dionne Warwick's work with Bacharach and David in the 60s, because there are such strong melodies on this album. I mean, it's very consistently well-written, disciplined, with the exception of the 8-minute closer, which I rather like. I sort of see it as being a 70s response to those great orchestrated pop albums of the 60s. But I think this marked a real change in Motown because it was a killer on a commercial level. And from this point onwards, a lot of Motown's releases tended to be more honed in a self-consciously commercial way. So you were talking at the beginning of the show that 1973 marked the end of a certain way of thinking. And I know that what you were going on about was that in some ways it was
going on about. You mean
was
beautifully
1973
beautifully articulating.
Eloquently articulated was that 1973 was like an overripe fruit. It was that fruit that just passed its best. A little too sweet, a little too soggy.
Okay, it sounds like you have a nostalgic attachment to that record, so we're going to give you a free pass on that one. I honestly didn't think it was that great when I listened to it, but anyway, I'm sure there are people out there that agree with you and disagree with me.